All right, let's jump right in. There's this debate, and it's been raging for centuries. It's about the stuff we own, the things we use every day. What makes something valuable? Is it the flawless perfection that only a machine can create? Or is it something else? Something like the soul, the story, that comes from a human touch. That's the tension we're going to unpack today. The hand versus the machine.
So to really get a feel for this, I want you to imagine something. Let's go back, way back. It's 1850, and you are a potter. The feel of cool, wet clay spinning under your fingers, that's like breathing to you. It's second nature. Your hands don't just shape clay, they hold generations of knowledge. Every curve, every form is unique, a story of your village, your family. Each piece you make has your signature, literally in its DNA.
And then, one day, everything changes. An order comes in, a big one, 500 cups, and they all have to be identical. Your hands, as skilled as they are, just can't do that. Not perfectly, not at that scale. But there's a new machine in town, and it can. So what do? This is what we're calling the potter's dilemma. And look, it's not just about making money. It's a huge question. What happens to all that human knowledge, that skill in your hands, when a machine walks into the room?
Okay, so this one dilemma basically sent the world spinning down two totally different paths. Let's start with the first one, the West. Over there, the reaction to the machine was, well, it was a whole drama. It was a story of rebellion, then adaptation, and finally, it completely redefined what it even means to create something.
You see, the Industrial Revolution wasn't just about getting some new tools. No, it was way bigger than that. It completely rewired our relationship with the act of making things. Think about it. Before, the designer was the maker. They were the same person. All the knowledge was right there, in their hands. And things got made at, a human pace. But after, the whole system got split apart. The designer became this separate thinker. The knowledge moved from the hands to a blueprint, and time was no longer human time. It was machine time. That direct human connection to the thing you made, poof, it was gone.
And a shift that big, it's going to cause some waves. It triggered a whole series of really powerful reactions. You can almost think of it like this. The Industrial Revolution created the problem. The arts and crafts movement was the first big rebellion against it. Then the Bauhaus school came along and tried to tame the beast, to master it. And finally, modernism took those Bauhaus ideas and just sent them everywhere, all across the globe. Let's unpack that timeline a bit.
So first up in this story is a guy named William Morris. He's basically the founding father of the arts and crafts movement. He looked around at all the cheap, ugly, soulless stuff being churned out by factories, and he had enough. He basically launched a counterattack. His whole philosophy was simple but really powerful. He believed that the work of making something should feel good, it should be dignified. And the things we bring into our homes, they should either be incredibly useful or just flat out beautiful. No junk.
But here's the great big tragic irony of the whole movement. By focusing so much on that handmade quality, the stuff Morris and his followers made became, well, super expensive. So expensive that the very factory workers he was trying to save couldn't even dream of affording them. It's like he diagnosed the disease of industrialization perfectly, but couldn't come up with a cure that worked for everybody.
Okay, so this is where the whole conversation takes a sharp turn. Enter the Bauhaus, a school in Germany with a totally radical new idea. Instead of fighting the machine, they asked a different question. They said, wait a minute, what if we stop trying to make the machine copy the hand? What if we design for the machine, but do it honestly and with intelligence? And that changed everything. It meant stripping away all the fake decoration. It meant being true to your materials, letting steel be steel and glass be glass. And most importantly, it meant bringing art, craft, and technology all together under one roof to work as a team.
And wow, their legacy was huge. You could argue the Bauhaus basically invented the job of the designer as we know it today. Not just someone who makes a thing, but a thinker. Someone who understands systems, materials, and what people actually need, and then works with industry to make well-designed stuff that isn't just for the rich, it's for everyone. This idea was so powerful, so revolutionary, that when the Nazis forced the school to close, its teachers fled all over the world, taking this philosophy with them. And that's how it became a global movement we now call modernism.
Okay, so that's the story in the West, this big wrestling match with the machine. But at the exact same time, a completely different story was playing out in India. This wasn't a story about revolution and fighting back against something new. It was a story of continuity. Because in India, craft wasn't some quaint, nostalgic hobby. It was the very fabric of life.
Now, to really get India's unique path, we have to completely change how we think about the word craft.
Forget the idea of it being just a hobby or a skill. In this context, craft is a living, breathing knowledge system. I mean, for whole communities, it's everything. It's their job, it's who they are, it's their science, it's their spirituality, all of it woven together into one thing.
Let me give you a couple of examples. A Kanjivaram silk weaver, they're not just making pretty fabric. They are a walking, talking library of over 60 mythological stories and incredibly complex mathematical patterns. Or take a Chetnad builder. They're not just stacking bricks, they're using generations of scientific knowledge about how to keep a building cool without air conditioning, using sustainable materials. You see, when you lose the craft, you don't just lose a skill, you lose the science behind it.
So, it makes sense that when India created its own design schools, like the famous National Institute of Design, they made a very conscious choice. The founding idea was clear. Let's not just copy-paste what the West is doing. Let's not just import modernism. Instead, the goal was to build a bridge, to take India's greatest strength, this incredible deep well of craft knowledge, and connect it to the needs of the modern world.
And this wasn't just some abstract theory. They put it into practice. Step 1. Send students out into the villages to document all these amazing traditions before they vanished. Step 2. Study local materials, things like bamboo or terracotta, but not as some kind of ethnic decoration. No, they studied them as serious, sustainable resources for modern industry. And step 3, the most important part, create projects where the designer and the craftsman work together, not as a boss and a worker, but as true partners.
When you put the two models side by side, the difference is it's stark. The Western model is basically a one-way street. A designer draws a blueprint, sends it to a factory, and that's that. But the Indian collaborative model, it's a two-way conversation. The designer might bring knowledge about a new market, and the craftsperson brings generations of deep knowledge about the material. They meet in the middle, and together they create something totally new.
So, there you have it. Two completely different paths, each one born from a different crisis and asking a different set of questions. And when you bring these two stories together, well, that's when things get really interesting and really challenging for design today.
This really lays it all out, side by side. In the West, the starting crisis was machine versus hand. The big question was, how do we design for machines? But in India, the crisis was different. It was colonialism threatening the entire craft economy. So the question was, how do we keep our craft traditions alive? And from those different starting points, everything else follows. The role of the designer, the philosophy around materials, and even how you define success. In the West, success meant affordable stuff for everyone. In India, success meant keeping livelihoods and cultural identity intact.
And this whole thing brings up some really tough, thorny questions. For example, think about a master weaver in Varanasi. For their craft to survive, maybe they stop making traditional saris and start making small brocade cushions to sell to tourists or for the export market. So what is that? Is that a brilliant adaptation that keeps a precious skill alive? Or is it a dilution, a watering down of an authentic tradition? There's no easy answer here.
Or let's look at the big promise of modernism, this idea of a universal design language. On one hand, you can see it as this amazing democratic ideal. Finally, good, clean design for everybody on the planet. But there's another way to look at it. Was it actually a form of cultural erasure? Did it impose one single Western way of seeing the world on everyone else, effectively paving over rich local traditions and knowledge systems? It's a huge tension.
Look, these are not just dusty old historical debates. Not at all. These are live, active questions that every single designer, and honestly, every one of us as consumers, is facing right now. The future of how we make things is being decided as we speak.
So let's circle all the way back to our potter from 1850. What about their great-great-grandchild today? Well, that modern potter is probably a perfect blend of both of these paths. They might use a CAD program on a computer to design the perfect shape, then use an electric wheel to throw the clay, and then use Instagram to sell their work to a customer on the other side of the world. The old hard line between hand and machine, between tradition and technology, it's getting really, really blurry.
So now, the choice really lands in our laps, in your lap. Imagine you have to design a simple chair. What do? Do you go for option A, traditional craft? It's beautiful, it honors human skill, but it's going to be expensive and you can't make very many. Or do you go for option B, industrial production? It's affordable for millions, but you lose that human touch. Or is there an option C, a hybrid model? The thing is, there's no single right answer. The real work of design today is deciding what you're optimizing for. Is it tradition? Is it cost? Is it sustainability? That's the choice.
Which brings us to one last big question.
After looking at all of this, what does the phrase well-made actually mean to you? Does it mean flawless, machine-like precision? Does it mean feeling the story of the hands that created it? Or maybe it means making something that's honest, useful, and available to as many people as possible. Something to chew on.